Welcome, everyone. I'm Eva Medilek, your high performance coach, and I am so excited today because I have a guest with me on my recording today for you high achieving, high performers. And in case you're new to me and my community, I am a high performance, transformational leadership and life coach. And I do these videos to really support you on your quest to advance your career without sacrificing your health, your well being, and your relationships. And that's why I'm excited to have Sara Thornhill with me today. She is the founder of Pranatova and creator of the Breathwork Method. And basically, she is a master coach in nervous system regulation, subconscious reprogramming, and she helps high achieving, high performing individuals navigate anxiety, panic, and overwhelm, which, in my experience, I think people are more open about what they experience now as the stigma, if you will, has been it is decreasing. I'm not going to say it's taken off altogether, but it's decreasing. And so welcome, Sara. I'm so happy to have you here supporting this community. Welcome.
Thank you so much for the welcome. It's a delight.
Yeah. So tell the audience, I just kind of read a little bit of a blurb from your bio, but tell them exactly how you help these high achieving and high performing folks that do experience panic and anxiety with overwhelm.
I show people how to improve the number one, the most permanent relationship they'll ever have. And that's the relationship that they have with themselves. We really need to be aware of what this gray matter in between our ears is saying 24/7. We as humans are not really living in the present like our domestic animals and like other animals in the animal kingdom are. We're constantly trying to predict the future based off of the past. And so often we're talking to ourselves in our head, and 95% of what we're saying, we're not aware of. So when we can be aware of what we're saying, that's the first step to change.
I've been listening to a lot of books on audio and podcasts, and a lot of it is centered around self-talk, the words we use for ourselves. I mean, and a lot of us don't realize the impact that I'm an idiot. I'm so stupid. This is going to be hard. You know, I'm not enough. Like all of those thoughts and words that we have towards ourselves, how it's affecting us. What is your take on that?
People think that stress and anxiety are normal. And yes, you're so right. We're largely unaware of these things that I call it the itty bitty shitty committee here in between our ears is saying to us 24/7. And really, everyone experiences stress. Stress is a physiological thing. Everyone experiences anxiety at some point in their lives. The difference is how we respond to it. Are we going to hold it lightly? You can take a beach ball and you can squeeze the heck out of it, or you can play. And so as these moments come into our purview, we only have now. So often as professionals, as high achievers, we're always looking forward to the next thing and always putting off some of the things that we want to do. But we're achieving certain things and constantly looking forward. But all we have is really this very present moment. So as these potential stressors come into our existence, come into our vibration, we can have the ability to play with it. There's always a choice as to how we respond.
People who are high achieving and are high performing or performing at a higher frequency or vibration, you know, I call it we should on ourselves a lot. You
Yep.
know, we should be doing more. We're not doing enough. We should be doing better. We should. And you're right. We're always looking ahead. And in my experience, from my context, really staying in the present moment, looking at what's important now has helped quiet a lot of the anxiety I was feeling because I was finding I was waking up feeling anxious about everything I had to do, what was happening, what I had to prepare for. Waking up that way, going to bed that way when I had my cortisol levels checked, they were higher in the evening and the morning. Not so much during the
Mhm.
day, which I thought was strange, but I went to bed worrying and woke up worrying. And that was creating anxiety because I was living so far into the future. And I found that once I was able to stay present, like you said, be in the present moment, it helped calm down a lot that feeling of anxiety. And like, okay, what is the next right action of integrity for me? You know, what is important now? What is due first? Helping me prioritize all of the things that I want to do, that I aspire to do, that I need to do, that I should be doing.
You
In my
could. You could be doing it.
head. Could, shoulda, woulda, shoulda, coulda. So tell me, what are some of the symptoms to to have somebody realize, yeah, I am experiencing anxiety and panic, as opposed to this is not a normal way I should be feeling, and not saying that it's abnormal, but there is a different way. There is another way.
It definitely I'm sorry, it definitely increases incrementally,
Mm,
and we'll have these overwhelming moments. I think to your point, one of the antidotes can be just celebrating our achievements instead of constantly saying, okay, got that done. Now I'm going to move on to the next
yeah.
thing, really celebrating what we have done. But to answer your question directly, some of the symptoms that people experience are feelings of non reality, tunnel vision. I actually went to the hospital thinking that I was having a heart attack. Some people experience neuropathy or numbness or tingling in their extremities or their face. They
Mm,
have difficulty breathing or feel like they're over breathing or feel like they can't breathe. They feel like they're going to pass out, and all of this starts the spiraling of the mind. We start to catastrophize and worry that somebody might think something of us, or that we might have some sort of another serious issue that's neurological or cardio related, some sort of vascular issue that's going on. And so the mind just starts catastrophizing and worrying that there's something else more serious. When I had my first panic attack in my 20s, I was at work and I thought it came on kind of slowly throughout the morning. And I was relatively healthy. I was a runner. And then I finally was like, okay, there's something really wrong. We were about to go into the conference room for a big meeting, and I went to my suite mate's door and just said, hey, I think I'm having a heart attack. Do you think you could drive me to the hospital? And of course, I got the flashing lights and the call to 911 and got the royal treatment all the way to the hospital, and ended up them telling me, your heart is perfect. It's beautiful. Look at how these are fantastic readings for your heart. You had a panic attack. This was a physiological response to some things that were going on in my life and the catastrophization. What happens is we stop really breathing properly, and the breath is our life force. We can survive for weeks without food. Sometimes we don't feel like we can, we get hangry. We can survive for a few days without water, but only a few minutes without our breath, which is
mm,
why my company Pranatova and my Breathwork Method are so integral to the work that I do to help people to be more aware of their breath. And the biggest tip I can give anyone is just noticing the breath,
Mhm.
because it is so connected to that sympathetic, parasympathetic seesaw. They can't be up at the same time. They can't be down at the same time. They have an inverse relationship. So just that breath awareness is going to give us a lot of power. And then also nasal breathing, just breathing in the nose and out of the nose, because the nose is much more efficient. I know I answered more questions than you asked, but the symptoms do lead us to say, what do I do about it? So I thought I
I really could relate when you said catastrophizing because every ache and pain I get is I'm dying, like, this is it. And it's just like and then I do some yoga and some breath work and the pain goes away. I'm like, "Oh, it wasn't so bad after all. I didn't have to run to the doctor." But to your point about the breath, on TV and in other situations, we see anyone experiencing a panic attack kind of breathe into a paper bag, if you will, which kind of highlights the point that the breath is important in regulating, these highly anxious feelings that we get that affect our equilibrium, how fast we breathe, how fast our heart is beating, how our, brain is spinning, like all of the things. So tell tell us a little bit more about why this is so important to focus on the breath.
Most people think that carbon dioxide is a waste product. And actually, it was the flourishing of carbon dioxide all over our planet that caused life to really spring up. We need carbon dioxide in order to allow the oxygen to decouple from the hemoglobin that's carried all throughout the bloodstream. I'm such a nerd. I love this stuff. So, to your point, I often talk to my clients about that paper bag phenomenon,
Mhm.
because when we get frustrated, what do you see people do? Or they're breathing out of their mouth. When we breathe out of the mouth, we let go of more carbon dioxide. It's going to change the oxygen and carbon dioxide differential. And because we're letting go of more carbon dioxide, we actually aren't able to breathe as much oxygen. We're breathing in the same amount of oxygen. We're just not able to integrate it into our cells and carry it all over the body because we've let some of it go. So the paper bag, you're breathing out the carbon dioxide and then breathing it back in, because we don't breathe in pure oxygen. We are breathing in some of the carbon dioxide. It's just that we're holding on to some of it whenever we breathe in and out of the nose. So that's
Mm.
why nasal breathing is so important. The nose has cells that produce nitric oxide. It's naturally calming. Also, it's filtering the air, it's warming the air, and it's making it humid. It's humidifying it so that it can be taken up by the lungs. So you're so astute there
Interesting.
with the paper bag, because that
Yeah.
is actually something that they don't really use so much anymore. But they knew that when people were having these panicky moments, that this was something that would help them to actually breathe in more carbon dioxide.
So if you don't have a paper bag at the ready and you're experiencing these feelings that
Mhm.
could be a panic attack, just really taking a moment to take your breaths in and out through your nose can help you get more of that carbon dioxide in your bloodstream to help kind of regulate the nervous system, is what I'm hearing you say.
Also humming. Yeah, you're right on point.
Uh-huh.
So breathing in the nose and humming with the lips closed.
Humming.
When we hum, it actually increases the amount of nitric oxide. That's what they give you in the hospital when you're having a panicky moment. They put the nitric oxide into the oxygen tank.
You're talking about talking to a dental hygienist
Yes,
here. We used it a lot to calm down
that's
patients in the
right.
dental chair, right? It's the
Yeah.
nitrous oxide. Yeah.
So
Okay. Now
humming
I'm
in
starting to connect some of the dots.
Mhm. Yeah, it's surprisingly, humming increases nitric oxide up to 14 times, just nasal breathing. And some studies have shown up to 30 times the increase. So just extending that exhale, that's a really good one. You can go out the mouth if you want, but it's really a lot more powerful to breathe in and out of the nose. and hum. That vibration is also really calming, just to be able to focus instead of focusing on the tingly feeling in our fingers or worrying if we're going to have jelly legs and pass out. That breathing in the nose and then just extending the exhale with the hum is a really magical way to calm ourselves down and be able to focus. What am I catastrophizing about? What is it that I'm actually worried about? A lot of times we're not even consciously aware that we're worried about our kids being away at college, or we're worried about this thing that we're not even really admitting
Bills.
to
We're worried
ourselves.
about finances, our
Yeah,
business, our jobs. I mean,
yeah,
we're living in 2025
yeah.
at the recording of this session, and there's a lot that people are carrying, worried about the future for themselves and for their loved ones with everything that's going on in the world today, regardless of what side of the political aisle that you happen to be on. I mean, you and I had talked before we decided to do this session together, and we talked a lot about the LGBTQ community and even just what's going on with maybe having the right to marry being taken away, women having their autonomy over their reproductive rights being taken away, immigrants, right? Immigrants worried about, am I going to be falsely detained? Yes, there's a certain amount of people who, probably should be removed from this country because of criminal activity and so on and so forth. But there are a lot of children. There are a lot of, we're worrying about people we love, people we work for. There's so much. And I found myself personally watching the news the other day and tearing up. And I'm like, okay, I gotta stop that. I gotta put on a comedy, like
Mm.
like right away. So there are a lot of factors that even if you've never had or experienced a panic attack before, just the amount of things that we as humans on this earth today have to, are carrying and fearful of and worry about could cause this. So I love that how you are giving us techniques to have control over something that seems uncontrollable at the moment.
Absolutely. Especially as women, as a member of the LGBTQIA population, we sometimes feel powerless. We
Mm.
feel like our rights have been taken away, our power's been taken away. And I am committed to empowering people to improve that relationship that they have with themselves and to focus on the two things that they can control. I am news sober since November of 2016. And
Kudos to you. I take
I,
my hat off to you, Sarah. I take my hat off to you. I was
yeah,
a news junkie and
I was too.
I am not anymore.
Yeah.
However, somehow I'm a little technology challenged. When I turn on like the main TV in the living room, it always goes to BBC News. And I'm like, okay,
Mm,
BBC News I can handle a little bit, but when you hear about like what's happening all over the world, I'm like, okay, that's just in addition to what's going on in my home country for sure. But one thing
it's
I did want to ask you about,
yeah.
there are people who, for some reason, have panic attacks for heights, right?
Yes, and
Or
driving.
driving,
Yes.
driving over bridges,
Mhm,
things like that. I'm talking about,
mhm.
instead of like worrying about our future and our lives and our livelihood, but just things that people fear flying,
Yes.
all kinds of things. Do these techniques help people manage that without having to go to, I need to take a drug or a pill or something to calm me down, a diazepam or something, which is Valium for those of us who are not nerds.
That's what I am so excited about when I get to share with a new client. My clients have all range of different fears. not just panic, but yes, several of my clients have overcome fear of driving over bridges on interstates. I have one who I just met with yesterday. She no longer has a fear of flying as a result of just using these techniques, these technologies, these tools. I have trackers because so often we who are ambitious, we really want to know the data. And even if that's not how you run your life, it's very helpful to be able to track it. If anybody's starting on a weight loss plan, right? What do? They monitor, what am I eating? They're writing everything down. So we utilize some of the tools that I've elucidated. Of course, the breath is very important, but also just understanding what's there. If you're going to go buy a business, what do you do? If you're going to buy a home, you get an inspection report. We need to know what's going on in between our ears, the assumptions, the catastrophizations, as well as the physiology.
Mm-hmm.
I have a radical belief that those of us who experience overwhelming anxiety and panic are primed for enlightenment. I believe that we have physiology that is very creative, and we have some stagnant, some stuck energy that's being misinterpreted and catastrophized. And that if we can just understand it and hold that beach ball a little bit differently, then we can really step into our power and understand that we have gifts. We have creative energy that's surging up in us. 100% of my clients are former people pleasers. They come to me as people pleasers and they leave as former people pleasers. It's like my wife says, if you're going to people please, the only person you should be pleasing is yourself. Because we think that people pleasing is pleasing ourselves, but it's really based off of irrational fears,
Anxiety.
disempowering beliefs that we're not enough, that we're going to be rejected, we're going to end up alone, that we're all of these core wounds, disempowering wounds that we sucked up when we were little sponges in childhood before we had a prefrontal cortex. And so I really firmly believe that 100% of the clients who come to me are really ready to get to know themselves from the inside out. And I'm a master meditation coach, master of the nervous system as well. And so when we use these trackers and when we just start spending a little bit of time being mindful of what we're saying to ourselves, we wield great power to be able to really understand it in a new way and to step into a new identity where we are full of power and not giving our power away by trying to please others.
What do you say to those people who have more of an avoidant tendency? You know, if I ignore it, it'll go away. Or I'm afraid of what I'm going to find when I know myself better or deeper. How do you approach that mindset?
The 3D world gives us plenty of reasons to deny, distract, dissociate. We have plenty of ways to avoid reality. If anyone has ever taken a CBT course, cognitive behavioral therapy, especially for panic, they know that there's avoidance behaviors and safety behaviors. And typically, my clients will utilize the avoidance behaviors, but they tend toward the safety behaviors, like calling a certain person or having a lucky, they don't tell many people about it, but they believe, they're like, well, when I had this item in my pocket, I was able to get through the panic because I touched it, I was able to hold on to it. These little things that we've correlated and we believe has actually kept us safe when there's no real reason for it. And so the the clients who come to me with avoidance behaviors and turn into in fact, if somebody is agoraphobic and has stopped going outside or stopped going into public places, they're not an ideal client of mine because we need to know that they're going to reach out, that we have a private
Mhm.
community where people log in, they're able to share and connect virtually. And then we have live calls every week with yours truly. And so clients who have the most success in my programs are more wanting that connection, and they tend toward the safety behaviors instead of the avoidance behaviors. So, yeah,
Awesome.
great question. Mhm.
So, for those of you listening right now, for anybody who's watching, listening to this, how can they kind of know if they need to reach out to you? I know you talked to me about an assessment or something you have. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, we actually created an assessment just for your clients. We're going to debut it right here.
Oh,
And,
wow. Aren't we
and
special? Yes.
just for your audience. Yes, the panic and anxiety index number is something that we've really toiled over for several months. And now it's fresh off the presses.
Mhm.
You'll be able to find a link to it in the show notes.
Of
We've
course.
provided it to
Mhm.
Eva and her team. And there's information on our website as far as if they think that they might need to reach out to us. It's like, if you think you might need to, we have a free masterclass that you can watch that will give you more information as to who this is for and the work that we do. That way, you don't have to hop on a discovery call if you're just not sure yet. And then that panic and anxiety index will also culminate in an opportunity to book in with somebody on my extended team so that you can get the support that you need. Yeah, if this isn't for you, then we love that you are feeling really confident and good about yourself and not needing this kind of support because we do know that there's a certain level of discretion, especially for us high achievers, that we don't want to be seen in a Facebook group.
Mhm.
Even though it's a private group, we don't want somebody to be able to go on our profile and see that they're in some sort of a group like that. So,
True, true. And I love that more and more businesses are now making it possible for people to have, to be able to take care of their mental and emotional wellness as well. And some of the stigma is being removed from it, but also we can be more proactive as well when it comes to our mental and emotional health. What is your website? You did mention your website. What is your website? And I'll put it in the show notes.
sure, it's sarathornhill.com. I'm
That's
Sarah
easy.
with no H, SARA. Yeah, thorn like on a rose.
SarahThornhill.com. Yes, your name is spelled right on the
Okay,
Zoom screen
perfect.
here. Awesome, awesome.
Perfect.
Well, thank you, Sarah. This was really, really helpful for me and for, I'm sure, a lot of people watching and or listening to us today. So I just want to thank you for generously pouring into our community. And of course, to everyone listening and watching, please take advantage of what Sarah has to offer. Either go to her website, watch the webinar, the masterclass, take the assessment that she created just for you, if this is you, and then you'll know whether or not you need to reach out to Sarah or someone in your community that can give you control of your mental and emotional health. So thanks everyone. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.